I was huge into the MCU going into Phase 4, kept up with every episode of WandaVision and its various theories, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, Black Widow. Actually enjoyed Shang-Chi, but the fatigue really started to set in with Eternals. God, that movie's fucking boring, man. It's been on and off. No Way Home was amazing. Love and Thunder was disappointing, as was Multiverse of Madness. Guardians 3 was great, and then so was Deadpool Wolverine. Mixing far too many mediocre shows and consider my faith in this cinematic universe shaken. So, to the point of the video, Captain America Brave New World is pretty good. I guess my main concern for this movie was that Sam just wasn't gonna suit being the lead of his own movie. He did earn the shield in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, but now we get a chance to really show that he's become Captain America. And in my opinion, he falls into that role pretty naturally. Anthony Mackie is naturally charismatic and likable, similarly to Chris Evans. So it's nice to hand the torch to someone who's just as good of a lead. He flaunts the suit a lot here, the stars and stripes pop during all the fight scenes, which, by the way, have very respectable fluid choreography. A lot of little props and weapons are flung around during fight scenes, and it's all very clear. A big pet peeve of mine is when a fight kind of looks cool, but you just can't really tell what the fuck's going on due to poor camera angles or whatever it may be. Not an issue here. This movie has that part down. I love how the wings are used as weapons, how they slice through the wings of planes like butter. It is a little jarring to see Sam, a completely regular guy, absorb a full blow from Red Hulk. Yeah, I know the shield is made of vibranium and it's fully shock absorbent, but it's still weird to see. During the opening sequence, Sam's barreling directly down at like the speed of sound, and he just smacks the ground and he's completely fine. A little distracting, not enough to take me out of the movie though, especially because it's followed by some good action. Opening sequence, we're also introduced to Sidewinder. Fucking hell, four attempts that took. Played by the immensely talented Giancarlo Esposito. Here's the thing. Sidewinder isn't a main villain. He's hardly even a secondary villain. I can't help but feel like Giancarlo's talent is kind of wasted here. I mean, he's pretty much always the bad guy in everything I've seen him in anyway. Would have been cool to see him in a larger role, but then again, he's been the big bad in like 2 massive shows. So to try and squeeze him into a 3rd huge role when he's already had such a significant impact on, well, pop culture as a whole, it might be a bit much. I get that. Something else worth noting in this opening sequence is the fight between Sam and big generic henchman guy. This guy must be enhanced or something because Sam is struggling with him far too much. We get like a parallel of the helmet removal scene from Winter Soldier. Here, Sam removes his eye mask before continuing the fight. Same sort of sentiment. Just thought it was cool. It might not have even been intended, but the return of Isaiah, I wasn't expecting it, but also wasn't really surprised. It's kind of a no-brainer, to be honest. Incredible acting from Carl Lumbly, especially the face-to-face scene in jail. Very emotional. The relationship between Sam and Isaiah, also the sort of bond between Sam and Joaquin. All well and good. It's classic, you know, goofy, enjoyable, charming MCU dialogue. The humor in this movie sticks to landing pretty much every time. It never felt forced to me, probably due to Anthony Mackie's he just sort of has a humorous demeanor. I mean, look at him. He always looks like he's up to something. That guy's scheming. Bucky returns very briefly, basically just so the audience can, you know, elbow the person next to them in excitement. Doesn't really serve much to the plot, but he's a beloved character. Who cares? The more the merrier. Honestly, I was expecting him to come back and help towards the end, but then you would have had people complaining that like, oh, Sam, you know, meant to be the lead of the movie and then he's getting saved. You know, basically like the Tom Holland shit all over again, the Iron Boy Jr. So it would have been cool for him to return, but then everyone would have complained about it. It wouldn't have bothered me personally. I also realized about halfway through watching this film, now we've officially had Bucky in more Captain America movies than Steve Rogers. Let that sink in. He'll also have been in more MCU movies as a whole with the release of Thunderbolts. The plot of the movie is fine, you know, mind control, all that sort of fucking nonsense. Shit like that doesn't really need much explanation, but sometimes conflict can feel a tiny bit like, not out of left field, but because there's not a lot of real emotion in the actual combat and all the Mr. Blue scenes, they're all very like, Robotronic from the antagonistic point of view. It just feels a bit meh. What is cool though is the immediate response after, how determined Sam is to get to the bottom of things, Ross's rising anger and the political tensions that are afoot. Ross is certainly a highlight in this movie. I mean, I'm glad he wasn't really portrayed as like a villain, because I simply could never view Harrison Ford as a villain. I mean, he's far too likable for that. Even when he's being a bit of an arse in this film, it doesn't really make us, oh, can't really speak for you, it didn't make me dislike him. The stuff about Betty and the cherry blossoms, that's cool. I'm actually pretty glad that Betty made a brief return at the end of the movie. I was convinced she was just going to be a voice cameo, but no, she came back and that was nice. Don't know why I hesitated. It was nice. Whatever. Moving on. The actual villain is that guy that's in The Incredible Hulk for like 2 seconds. Yay. I maybe should have rewatched The Incredible Hulk, but I didn't know that I was meant to. Yeah, if you haven't seen this film and you're watching this for some reason, I would advise rewatching the 2008 Hulk film. It wasn't that long ago I watched it, but I don't remember the fine details. This guy, is more so just kind of like a plot device than a villain, like a much less interesting Zemo. He does his job, but honestly, kind of forgettable. I mean, Sidewinder is more interesting, to be honest. But he does give us the Red Hulk, which I have to say, in the moment, I was hyped during the fight scene, but in hindsight, I'm just kind of like left feeling a little bit shortchanged. He seems so underpowered, and they don't really play on the Red Hulk's like heat abilities either. Also, before I talk more about Red Hulk, this movie would be so much better if the Hulk wasn't part of the advertising, like all the promotional materials. It seems as if this movie gives you little drips and drabs, breadcrumbs leading towards the big transformation. It's completely and utterly spoiled by all the advertising, especially considering the big transformation happens right at the very end of the movie. We do get our fair share of destruction. We get a thunderclap, very nice. We get 2003 style Hulk leaps, those giant horizontal jumps. It's cool. I can suspend my disbelief on the fact that he changes hair color because who cares? It's not enough to take me out of the movie. His skin changes color, it's red. Why can't his hair change color too? Don't care. During the transformation, we see the air like rippling around him, steam coming off his skin, so we get a slight acknowledgement of the heat abilities, but nothing really of note. There's a part where he kind of like digs his hand into a car and the car sets on fire, but if that was Ross's doing, the movie doesn't really do a very good job of portraying that, and it definitely doesn't explain it. So yeah, we get an extremely nerfed Red Hulk, which frankly should have mopped the floor with Sam, but like, I get why he didn't. This Red Hulk is good visually, and that's about it. Ross, as a character, is great in this movie, but the alter ego, you know, the Red Hulk, falls a little short, which is a shame because this movie is pretty strong, like right up until the end sequence. But all in all, pretty good, you know. Nothing exceptional, but I've seen all this malarkey online about how this movie sucks. It doesn't suck, it's more than enjoyable. Yes, it's not Winter Soldier. It's most certainly not Civil War, but it's a good Captain America movie. Good action, likable characters, political underbelly, and fairly solid writing. Also, it formally introduces adamantium into the MCU, which is kind of cool. You know, that just screams Wolverine. Very quietly. That's another thing about this movie. Not necessarily a problem, but, you know, food for thought here. It's incredibly self-contained. It doesn't really imply where the story will go on from here. The post-credit scene, which I'm not going to dock points for on this movie, but the post-credit scene blows. Fucking sucks dick. Wait until you meet the others, the guy says. What the fuck does that even mean? That is so incredibly vague, it could mean fucking anything. Normally, a movie not leaning into a sequel isn't really worth mentioning, but for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I figured it was worth mentioning. All in all, the absolute best part of this movie is Sam's portrayal and his natural taking up of the mantle, his empathy towards Isaiah, and the sense of brotherhood throughout. Those are all the thoughts I had on this movie. Better than average, but far from Marvel's best. I'm certainly looking forward to Thunderbolts. In fact, fuck it, I'm just gonna throw myself in it now. I'm gonna preemptively say that Thunderbolts is gonna be a fantastic movie. Come back to me in a few months when I eat those words, or subscribe now and come back to me when I post another video doing something. Anyway, thank you for watching. Stay tuned.